Asda started life in Yorkshire in the 1960s, born out of a company called Associated Dairies. Its whole identity was built on one idea: pile it high, sell it cheap. For decades that worked. Then in 1999, Walmart, the biggest retailer on earth, swooped in and bought Asda for £6.7 billion, outbidding Kingfisher. For 20 years, Walmart's money, Walmart's logistics, and Walmart's supply chain muscle kept Asda humming along as Britain's #2 supermarket, nipping at Tesco's heels. Then, in 2020, everything changed. Walmart decided it wanted out of the UK, and in walked two brothers most shoppers had never heard of. Mohsin and Zuba Issa had built a petrol station empire called EG Group from a single garage in Bury. Alongside private equity firm TDR Capital, they agreed to buy Asda for £6.8 billion. And here's the part that should make every viewer's eyebrows shoot up. The Issa brothers and TDR Capital only injected around £200 million of equity into a £6.8 billion deal. That's roughly 3 pence in every pound. The rest? Debt, junk-rated bonds, loans, and a maze of asset sales. Basic. To get the numbers to work, they immediately started selling off pieces of Asda to pay for buying Asda. £950 million came from selling and leasing back Asda's own distribution centres, and £750 million came from flogging Asda's petrol stations to the Issa brothers' own company, EG Group. Think about that. They sold Asda's forecourts to themselves. Asda ended up owing rent on buildings it used to own outright. Business sale report. By the time the dust settled, Asda, a company that had zero external debt back in 2019, was saddled with billions in borrowing. Reports at the time put the debt pile at over £4 billion, and by 2024, that figure had ballooned. Asda was struggling to service a debt pile of roughly £5.9 billion, mostly run up during that 2021 buyout, right as interest rates were climbing. Money that was cheap in 2021 became brutally expensive by 2023 and 2024. Every percentage point the Bank of England added to interest rates was another few £1 million a year Asda had to find, not to build new stores, not to cut prices, just to pay the people it owed. Tortoise Media. And the interest bill was staggering. In one filing alone, Asda paid £375 million in interest in a single year on the Issa brothers and TDR's leveraged deal, with over £200 million of that going on external debt and another £106 million just on lease payments. That's nearly £750 million in 2 years, funneled straight out of the tills and into the pockets of bondholders, instead of into cheaper prices, fresher stores, or better wages. Retail Gazette. While all this was happening, the boardroom turned into a soap opera. Asda's respected chief executive Roger Burnley walked out in 2021 after reportedly clashing with the brothers over strategy. Then came whispers of a rift between Mohsin and Zuba themselves. Eventually, Zuba sold his 22.5% stake to TDR, and unions like the GMB started accusing the private equity firm of asset stripping and letting workplace standards slide. MPs hauled Asda bosses in front of select committees to explain interest-free loans for private jets and murky company structures. One union official summed it up bluntly. Asda has got a real issue with its brand and its identity, and its owners seem to have lost sight of what they stand for. Tortoise Media. On top of the financial engineering, Asda had a genuinely enormous operational headache, untangling itself from Walmart's computer systems. Every till, every supply chain database, every stock system had run on Walmart's tech for 20 years. Ripping that out and building Asda's own version, a project internally called Project Future, came at a cost of around £800 million and was a massive distraction from focusing on the actual customer. For a while, it caused genuine chaos on shelves, gaps, late deliveries, systems that didn't talk to each other properly. The one thing a supermarket cannot afford, empty shelves, became a real problem for Asda at exactly the moment shoppers were hunting for the cheapest possible basket. Tortoise Media. Now, while Asda was fighting fires internally, its rivals were sprinting. Aldi and Lidl had already been quietly eating market share for a decade, but the cost of living crisis of 2021 to 2023 turned that slow bleed into a hemorrhage. Food inflation peaked at close to 19% in early 2023, and millions of previously loyal Tesco and Asda shoppers discovered they could get a genuinely comparable basket for less at a discounter with no loyalty card, no gimmicks, just consistently rock-bottom